Welcome to UK Dispatch. I'm Elton John, no kidding. And on Dispatch this week, I'll be talking to Mick Wall. But first...
John, it's only been 6 months since we last spoke to you on Skytrax, but an awful lot of water seems to have gone under the bridge for you during that time. Firstly, after we spoke to you, you went off to Australia. This massive tour with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
Well, that had been planned for about 1.25 years beforehand. It just wasn't thrown together because there had never been a decent... Well, there's never been a tour done with a symphony orchestra and a pop band or a band. And I never had the opportunity really to play live on stage all the old numbers from the Elton John album, Tumbleweed, Madman, Blue Moves. And also, if we were going to do something like that, we wanted to mic it, probably spend a year trying out different mics and how to mic violins and everything. Because if you go to a normal concert and you see 20 string players, let's say the Eagles, I mean, it was a waste of time. They could have stayed at home. Right. You can never hear them. So, I mean, we were pretty loud when the band... I mean, I started off the second half of the show on my own with the orchestra, but then the band came in. And we wanted the orchestra to be as loud as the band, and in fact, they were.
You did this 27 times, right?
In 27 times in various parts of Australia, 5 cities. Who'd be the luggage man on that tour? Yeah. Yes.
So did you get to do a lot of the earlier stuff? Because as you said, that Madman Across the Water albums like that did have Gus Dudgeon, of course, did a lot of string arrangements.
Yeah, well, Gus, thank God, was involved in the whole project. He's probably the best recording producer of an orchestra, always has been. And so Gus was, I put him in charge of all the, and Clive Franks, who does my sound, were in charge of all the technical side of it. And we were able to do things from the Elton John album, Tumbleweed, all Paul Buckmaster arrangements, and then stuff from Blue Moves that really, we'd played this on stage before, but never in the context of having like a 60-piece, 45-piece string section. Amazing experience. We decided we call it live and video it live because, you know, it might only happen once in a lifetime, so let's get it down. And in fact, the whole live album, the two albums, is made up from the last performance, the last show before my voice had to go in hospital and do my voice operation. And it went really... I don't like live albums very much. I'm very adamant against them because they're all cheated on.
Did you end up having to do lots of overdubs?
No, nobody overdubbed anything on it. And that's the God's honest truth. I swear on my mother's life. Well, in fact, at the time the album was mixed, I couldn't speak because I was having the operation. Right. I was still in Australia. No backing vocals redone or instruments like that. That's the way it was, and I'm really proud of it. I put out 2 live albums before. One was called 11-17-70, which was actually a radio broadcast, which came out as a live album. The other one was called Here and There, which we put out really to fulfill a contract, which was a bunch of crap. And this one, which the only 2 live albums I really ever liked, the Sting live album and the Bob Marley live album. I thought all the rest of them are pretty pathetic. Well, they're not pathetic, but I mean, those 2 albums were fantastic.
They're like statements, those albums.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant. And I think this one, as he said, modestly, is in that league because of just the sound quality of the orchestra.
Now, you just referred, of course, to your throat operation. Can we just clarify what the problem was and how successful was the op?
Basically, it was just knackered. I'd sung for about 3 years on the road, made albums, just using it too much. A very simple operation. I was not dying, as they had me dying over here. I mean, I'm close to death's door. The Duke and Duchess of York did not send me a telegram. They weren't frantic about me singing at the next Royal Show. It was a 50-minute operation, and I could talk the next day.
Yeah. So there was never at any stage did you consider having to give up a singing career?
Never during the operation. Maybe a couple of months later. No, not really. No. Oh no. I'd come to the end of a cycle. I mean, I usually work in cycles where I have about 3 or 4 years on and then 2 years off. And basically, I have no plans to tour at the moment. I don't think that it would be great for the voice to do a whole show anyway. It's all right doing 2 songs here and there, a live concert, the AIDS concert or Prince's Trust. Right. I just don't have any desire to walk onto a stage again for the time being. I just want to... I'm going to do an album in October with Chris Thomas and maybe a couple of one-off singles. And I'm just really going to enjoy myself and have a couple of years.
In your capacity as chairman of Watford Football Club, you've just taken the team out on a tour of China.
Yeah.
What was all that about?
Well, we were 4 years ago. We went to China in 1983, and we played the three friendlies out there. And we were the 2nd British team to go. West Bromwich Army, I think, went before us, and it was a great success. And we got out for a company called London Export. And 4 years later, we were contracted to do the same thing. But about a week before that happened, Graham Taylor, our manager, left to go to Aston Villa, which left me 4 days in which I got a manager, Dave Bassett, from Wimbledon. But neither of those 2 people could come on the tour as manager. So Also, the backroom staff left at Watford, and so the only one there to go on the tour was Billy Hales, the physiotherapist, who became manager.
So were you picking the team?
No, I wasn't. No, I left it to Billy Hales, the physiotherapist. But John Reed, my manager, and I were the two directors, and Eddie Plumley, the chief executive. So there was only 4 people really representing the club. And it was a great chance for me to get to know the players again. It's a new set of players, and in the last 3 or 4 years I've been working so much. I don't come into contact with the players so much. And it was a morale, but I mean, it showed them that I was completely passionate about the club. It kept morale going and set them up for next season. And it was totally enjoyable. It was great for me. It was, you know, you get sent up a lot. You play 2-touch football with them. You get to know what music they like, you know, where they live, when they're getting married, whatever. And the whole thing with Watford has not just been football, it's been social for me as well.
Most of our European viewers would agree, I'm sure. The image of football in Britain seems to be severely tarnished by the violence on the terraces. Again, in your role as chairman of one of the country's leading up-and-coming clubs, do you have any theories on how to deal with it?
Well, we've had a family club, family terracing at our club. And
you don't particularly suffer with it at Watford?
No, and I think most clubs have followed. In fact, this season in England and Scotland, there hadn't been that much trouble at all. If you take a quick look at Italy, Spain, West Germany and Holland, there's far more football violence in these countries now than there is in England. And it's about time they let us back into Europe, because the European competition is suffering without the English teams.
Do you think they'll let us back in next year?
Well, it'd be complete hypocrisy if they don't next year, because there is, I mean, when Ajax won their European trophy this year, there was so much trouble in Amsterdam. I went to Madrid yesterday, and they were telling me that they have terrible trouble in Madrid. And they said the people are going in Madrid, the supporters, and holding the British flags up. So they're holding them, so people think it's the British people doing it. And in fact, it's the Spanish people. And so Britain's getting collared on that role. I mean, we were banned, quite rightly so, absolutely. But I think if next season is as good as this year, as far as crowd trouble goes, I think we should be let back, because it's certainly spreading, unfortunately, to the continent. God forbid if we go back into Europe and then something, you know, the British meet up with what's going on. I think it's about time the European football people put their houses in order as well.
So I got another record out with Jennifer Rush, Flames of Paradise.
That came. We did that last year, and it just came out. Really.
Is that one of your songs or just?
No, it's a friend of mine called Bruce Roberts, who wrote Enough Is Enough and several hits for Donna Summer. It's just one of those fun things I like to do occasionally, and I like Jennifer's voice very much. Ironically, she kept me off the #1 spot with Power of Love. And I remember she's got a great voice, she's quite stunning. And so it was a fun thing to do. The unfortunate thing is we didn't really do it together. I had to do my part and then whiz off to Australia.
Oh, really?
And then she put on her voice. Yeah, it was just a time factor, that's all.
Things bang up to the minute. Now, your song, I believe, is being
regurgitated for the 150th time, yeah.
Well, albeit in a new format, though, because this is from the live album, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what the record company want out. It's Bernie and I. We've been together 20 years this year, so it's our 20th anniversary from June to June next year.
Very shortly, of course, in a couple of years, we'll be able to say Elton John's Elton John's career has now spanned 4 decades. Is there such a thing? Do you think?
Yeah, 6, 7, 8. Yes. Oh, yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, thanks a lot.